And launch. We're off. Another podcast.
Whoa.
With Mark Thomas. What's up, dude?
Hey,
How
man.
are you?
How are you? I'm good. I'm good.
Mark Thomas in Nashville, Tennessee, in your studio. Hit Garage Records is your... is
correct?
It's your studio's called, right? And
that is. It's an inside joke from a long time ago, really.
That's a good name. I like it.
Yeah. Because people now think of like a garage, like a mechanic garage, where we're crafting hits and all that fun. But the real truth is when I got my very first Pro Tools rig with a Digio 01, we took it to a guy's garage and recorded a couple records. They sounded very reverby.
Oh, yeah. A lot of natural reverb.
Natural verb, man.
No plugins required. So
usually have to pay extra for that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Got a 003. You had the fucking first one, man.
I did, man. I still have it. It's literally in my rack. It does nothing but, any old school cats that come over are like, oh, I remember that thing. I was like, that's right. Early 2000 or 99 or something like that.
So you had that. We met before Musicians Institute, and you were out in LA for many years.
Yeah.
And you and I actually met, ironically enough.
College Station, right?
Yeah, we met in College Station at a random party. I think I had like gone to some party and met somebody. And they were like, and I was hanging out with like another guitar player, and this chick was like, "Oh, you got to come meet my friend Mark or my next door neighbor or some shit, right?" And
nice.
We came over, and that's how we met. And then you were like, it just so happened that you were going to MI like right before me, and so I kind of had this bridge between you, and then when you went out there, you ended up like meeting Hostile Groove, staying in a hostel with them. All you guys became roommates. My brother ended up playing with Hostile Groove.
I never
blah, blah,
put
blah.
together that we met in a hostel and their name was Hostile Groove till you just said that.
Yeah.
They were Hostile Groove, dude.
Hostile Groove, man. LA, yeah, dude. Well,
some good times though.
Great times. And I remember I actually told this story on one of the first podcasts, the first time I went out there. And I don't know. It's legal a lot of places now. I don't think marijuana use is like what it used to be. It's not taboo, right? So talking about smoking weed is not like a big thing, right?
I don't think so.
Right. So, back then it was like everybody smoked. Everybody still smokes. And I remember going, I feel like you went out there and were like, met these guys in the hostel and I could, it was a long time ago, but I think you were like, we're talking 20 plus years, 99, I guess. And my brother and I had gone out there and like hung out in Santa Monica with a friend of his. That's when I went into Hollywood. And I think you were like, I'm assuming it was you was like, oh man, the fucking weed out here is killer. and you were like, I'm with these dudes. I met these guys and they're like from Boston and this dude has dreads and they're like this metal band and this whole fucking thing. And I came and met up with you guys at that hostel and got blown. And I remember walking back to my car.
All I
like
remember is meeting Dan and Sean. My first impression, this guy, Sean, he's like 6'2", white guy, huge dreads, and his hair tie in the back of his head was a python. No joke. It was his python.
It was actual python.
It was his actual python. And when we met, we ended up being roommates for years. And these guys are awesome guys. But I remember Sean was like, hey, man, you smoke? And I was like, not cigarettes. And he's like, yeah, no shit. And I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, you got a truck? Yeah, let's go. And him and Dan, that was 20 years ago. I don't really do any of that much anymore. I have a kid now and she's the greatest.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, congrats on the marriage and the family.
Yeah,
how old's your child?
Miss Ari, Arabella, she is about to be 2 years old, dude. And she is the coolest, smartest little kiddo.
Very cool, man.
And she will never know these stories of her dad when his metal days in LA.
Yeah, but smoking a little pot is a far cry from like being a heroin junkie or something.
Also true. I did not wind up at the Rainbow Room strung out with Lemmy. Or whatever.
Right. Yeah. The old rain blow, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rain blow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude. But shit. So that takes us back. We briefly met, and then I ended up going out there. Me and my brother, and so knew you from way back then. Yeah, Sean and the Python, Monty
Python,
correct. Python, and all those good times. And then you were always one thing about us is like you were a Texas guy. We're both Texas guys.
Yeah,
and so you just said you were from Beaumont. I'm sure we're, influenced by SRV and Eric Johnson. And
of course.
But I remember you were huge. Well, obviously another Texan, right? Dime, right? And you had the Dime. Was that a Washburn?
Yeah, I had the Washburn. I never had the Dean. Actually, you know what, man? Oddly enough, I had the extreme pleasure of getting to one of my drummer friends out here works for a company that does that makes this type of fog that literally all the major people use because somehow it doesn't hurt your vocals. It doesn't hurt your vocal cords. It's called Froggy Fog. It's really cool stuff. Like Taylor Swift uses it and some major people, but Hell Yeah also uses it. And he calls me one day, goes, dude, Hell Yeah's in town. You want to go hang out with Vinnie Paul? And I was like,
no way.
100%. Yes. Wow. Let's go. So we got to kick it with Vinnie, man. Got to go backstage after the show and hang with him and at the time, his girlfriend before he died. But, I hadn't played my Washburn Dime guitar. It hangs on my studio with a signed picture when I met him at NAMM in 2000. Right. And it's kind of my like tribute to Dime. But after Vinny died, I actually started picking it back up and playing it again. I have little vinyls of them with RIP under it on the big fin. It's pretty cool. So I pick it up every once in a while. I still play on her, but yeah.
What was the Washburn? Was that what Dime played before the Dean deal, right?
I think he originally had a Dean though.
Really?
Because the ML was the ML, man. That model was made famous by, believe it or not, by Billy Gibbons and the dudes from ZZ Top, Texas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they had, if you remember, they had the fuzzy ones with all the fur on it that they would spin around in whatever video. Yeah, but they were the first guys that used that ML model, and Dime won some. I mean, there's so much lore about that, but I believe he won one from a guy at, I don't know how he won it, but the guy put it was a tobacco burst, but he ended up losing it to this guy. The guy put the lightning graphic and the blue thing on it, and he ended up giving it back to him. And then Washburn made copies of all of them and then made the slime one, which is the one I have. Right. I don't know why I went with the green slime. I think the lightning bolt was way cooler, but
they're all cool. And everybody knows either one of those though. Either one of those, and you had, that guitar obviously, which is a signature guitar. And then you're a Telly guy. I think you've always had a Telly, right?
Dude, I just got a custom one built for me last year.
Really?
You want to see it?
Yeah, please.
Ooh. Hold on. It's right here. This is my girl right here. It's a whiskey barrel finish.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's nice.
That's fucking beautiful.
But since I'm not, chunky by any means, but I still got the belly cut, which is not a Telly thing. But, I don't know. He engraved my initials. I don't know what that's all about. It's dumb.
So who did that?
Lance Alonso in LA. Alonso Guitars. But here's the dopest, man. It's actually, I know it's weird, the triple dot. I just wanted something special, but it's actually a 24 fret Telly with a 16-inch radius. So
holy shit.
Every appointment's really shreddy and modern, but it's still low output for,
That's killer, man. That's
you can
beautiful.
burn on it, man. It's an awesome guitar.
I love Tellys. Still don't have one. It's ridiculous. One of my favorite guitars. Yeah, I've still got that Strat. The Strat that I've had now for 20. I bought it in 99. It's a 99 California Strat, and I remember taking that out to LA the same night. It's
still probably the best sounding Strat ever.
Dude, it's so great. I've got a lot of different guitars, and that still is one of the when I play that guitar. I'm like every time I'm like,
what's the guys you endorse though? Those are amazing.
Well, so I have Tragans and then Godan.
Tragans.
Yeah. Tragan guitar, which I have my own, signature Tragan guitars, and then in the last few years I've gotten on with Godan guitars too.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're great, and because I've been playing Siegel acoustics for fucking ever and love those. And I would always run into people in guitar stores and been teaching for years. And some people would go, I don't have a guitar. And I said, bang for your buck, man. These Siegel guitars, the shit. And I was like, at some point I was like, damn, I've probably sold like a lot of Siegel guitars. And I was like, man, I should just hit them up. And I ended up getting a cool rep, and I've played up at the NAMM show a few times now, but they're great, man. So those two companies
You're the one
are my,
you told me about them. Like I literally remember there are some people that drink the Alvarez Kool-Aid and the Siegel Kool-Aid, and I have a couple of those guys. They're like, man, seriously, bang for the buck. And you're not wrong, man. They're like really nice acoustics.
Yeah, it's very rare. Like guitars are individual, so it doesn't matter. You know, you could always play one Les Paul and then another Les Paul and be like, I like this one, but it just feels better to me. They're all individual, but the odds of like when you play a Taylor or a Martin or you know that. And I felt that with Siegel, like over all the years of like picking up a random Siegel at a Guitar Center. There's like been like one time where I was like, not feeling it. But almost every time it's like, feels great. Sounds good, you know, but in the cost, you know, and they're very like, affordable.
So throwback, what was the name? It was a record you did before you officially went by Skunk. And I want to say maybe it was with a girl, but it was kind of more acousticy stuff, and it started with a D, if I remember. I still have it somewhere.
Dude, that was so old school. So in 1998, I went to I lived in San Antonio for a few years, and I started playing this guy named, and he lives here now. I haven't talked to him in a million years. His name is Ryan Desiato.
That's it.
That's it, Desiato. And we did an album in 3 days at this guy's place in San Antonio. We walked in, we did all the drummer was amazing. I actually had this guy's drum set. He went to A&M, right? So when I moved back to College Station for a bit before I went to LA, I had this killer full-on Pearl set, dude. And that's how I learned to play drums, because this guy just like left it at he was like, hey, you can just play it at my parents' house. Anyway, he was the drummer. He was great. He came in and we did all these, you know, all our scratch, or hell, we probably kept stuff. Did the whole fucking guitars, drums in one day. I went back and did the solos and we did vocals in 2 days. And then it was so ridiculous because it was like the singer was just like, do we even need bass? And we're like, yeah, dude, you need bass.
Wow.
and like, so we like, this dude pulls out this old, but I remember that, dude. That was like what I was plugging back then in 1999 when I met you.
I have that, the Desiato thing. It's around. I mean, CDs, like who listens to CDs?
CDs, like exactly. None of that stuff exists. Anything that I did, there was a couple of different little things that I did, you know, around early 2000s, but those things are all gone. Like they're not, you know, existing in any kind of like Spotify and. Dude.
Wasn't that a lot of acoustic though?
It was a lot of acoustic, and I did some electric solos on it. But it was very like acoustic rock.
Yeah. Oh, it was cool stuff though. I remember that. That was great.
Some good stuff. Yeah.
Like when I moved here, I'm not an acoustic guy as much as you are. I'm more now, but being like doing songwriting stuff in town. And I have a Breed Love now that I freaking love to tears. But when I got out here, I have this Ovation, right? And let me tell you, I got straight up shit on by everybody in Nashville who's like, you're playing a plastic guitar. If you don't have a Taylor or a Martin, you die. Go away and die. And I'm like, dude, it's an Ovation. It's made by like an aeronautical engineer who understands acoustical. You can't tell them anything, man. Dude, they just.
It's funny you say that, because the thing about Ovations, it was such a unique, innovative thing. In their day, like I guess in the 80s, like Ovations were huge. Like everybody had an Ovation. It was fucking cool. And then all of a sudden it was like not cool anymore. And you never see Ovations now, right? So, I mean, I remember seeing Al Di Meola playing an Ovation, but that was like it.
I had to wipe myself off and get a real acoustic guitar at some point. So
you got a Breed Love?
I do like it. I couldn't go down the Taylor or the Martin path. As much as I like them, I was like, no, I'm not going to succumb to your Nashville peer pressure. I was like, I don't care. I'm going Breed Love.
Well, speaking of Nashville, how long have you been there now? 5+ years?
8. Coming up on...
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
really?
8 years, actually.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Loving it. Except for this last year. This last year was kind of,
yeah,
he's a little salty about this last year.
You do, and your wife is a singer and a musician, right? And you guys have played together, and you've done some, you played with various bands, done some touring and stuff, I guess. Yeah. But obviously, you have your studio, and that's your main business.
Well,
I'm guessing
it wasn't until this last year. My studio was always like I didn't even. So here's a quick tidbit about Nashville, Music City, right? Up until literally like 3 months ago, owning this studio and trying to make it with a business license and do this the legal way was illegal for the last like 30 years in a town where 90% of the studios are in homes, including Music Row, which is all houses and all these things. So what it is none of these there's only a couple areas in town dual zone for both business and residential. And there've been guys literally fighting this with lots of money and campaigns for about 10, like really hard for the last 10 years. One guy in particular, like somebody in his neighborhood in East Nashville, like tried to get a business license and he found out he couldn't have a home business. So he reported every single business anywhere near him Like he ratted out like all these studios and people, and they all got cease and desist letters. So one guy took it upon himself. Well, long story short, they just voted in about 3 months ago that I could legitimately I can finally have a website up that has my address and not be in fear of getting shut down. And
that's crazy.
It's nuts, man.
Wow.
But honestly, for the last 3 years, like touring was my like main money with various artists, and like when we moved here, I don't know if you know who this is, but some guys do. Engelbert Humperdinck, who is like the old crooner like Tom Jones.
Oh, fuck
Carissa toured the world with him for like 2.5, almost 3 years.
No shit.
So when we moved here from LA, she was on tour with him about 10 to 12 days a month for almost
like a backup singer or
background singer. Yeah.
Wow.
So she made and I mean, he paid, like when we met Nashville people out here that were on like major label tours, and she said what she was making per show and getting half rates for days off. They were like, wait, what? You get paid what?
Wow, that's amazing.
She made all of our money, man. Literally, I did every free mix, every free gig. Like nobody cared about your past dues that you've already paid in LA. Nobody cared. So I did so much free work, and it took, a few years just to get your name out there and get the studio around, and then people finally started, to take a little bit of notice, and it's good. So business is good now.
And obviously you got a lot of competition in a town like that, of course,
Yeah,
but that's so interesting to hear about. Like, so were a lot of these records kind of under the radar, or were these residential studios?
No, there's some major people doing really crazy things out of quote unquote very professional but home studios with crazy gear and all of that. And I mean, people just don't report them because they're not loud or whatever. That a lot of records are made in home studios. That's all I'm getting at.
Right. So Nashville was was the forerunner of the home studio game. They've been doing it for 30 years or more.
Well, I mean, like a lot of the major artists, when they get hits and all that, they start building out their own studios to cut the overhead of going into Blackbird or wherever. Yeah. And technically what they're doing is illegal, but who's going to report, Keith Urban's home studio or whatever?
That's weird. So,
yeah. It's nuts, man. And it seems like only the little guys get shit on. So it's how it goes.
So what brought you to Nashville? What made you guys decide to make that move?
Well, that's a great question. Carissa came out here twice. We had a couple that we considered our LA parents, quote unquote. And by day, this dude Jeff was an entertainment lawyer in Beverly Hills. I mean, they were very well off, and he took Carissa out to Nashville twice to record a couple records. And she was just the singer, and they hired the band and did all of that, and she fell in love with it. In 2009, I came out here with a guy named Rob Corona, and we were put in front of Warner Chappell and Mercury VPs and stuff, and went out there to showcase, and a few things happened with him. He's actually out here now, and I fell in love with Nashville. And when Carissa and I got married, it was one of those things where we were like, well, Oregon's boring. That's where you're from. We can't move there. There's no music scene, not even in Portland. And I was like, and as much as I think I would love to be in Austin, which I would realistically, I was like, as much as I love Texas and have that Texas blood, I can't tell my wife I won't move to where you're from and then be like, yo, you should move where I'm from. That's not cool. So Nashville was kind of like a compromise, and we had some people and friends out here. But the real reason, and this is kind of a sad story, get ready for your tissues. The guys that she recorded with those 2 albums, she kept contact with for something like 10 years almost. And she called him, said, hey, we're thinking about moving out there. My husband's an engineer, blah, 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 blah. Do you ever need a second engineer to the guy? His name was Howard Purdue was the producer, and the guy, the guy that ran and owned the studio, it was called, his name was George Clinton, but like old white George Clinton, not P-Funk, right? And so she was like, well, my husband's like Pro Tools certified, this and that. He's really good. He's fast. If you need someone, and he goes, oh, I'll hire him as an intern. If he's really good, he can be my assistant and blah, 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 blah. So we made plans. We quit MI after many years. I gave him 8 months notice, right? It was weird, but did it anyway.
Were you teaching there, doing
I did
recordings?
Some teaching, but mostly I was the curriculum supervisor. That's what I did for the last like 5 or 6 years. But so we had plans to meet this guy, come out to Nashville, hang out, check out the scene. And 2 weekends before we came to Nashville. And I'm telling you, man, this was my foot in the door. And I'm not saying this story as like a woe is me thing, but George had like a heart attack and went to the hospital. And when he went to the hospital, he found out the same weekend that he had cancer, and he died like literally like 2 weeks before our plane landed, just to go meet him and shake hands. So I never even got to shake the man's hand.
Oh, wow.
And we still decided to move. I mean, we're still like, you know what? We feel like this is the right move. We've kind of worn out LA, kind of tired of it. Let's go. And so we still came out, and, you know, the paths were a little bit different than they would have been, but I still think it was definitely the right choice, and we love it out here. Although secretly, I would love to go back to Texas. To the motherland.
I mean, all these places are popping, you know, and the big cities are always going to be the big cities, but like, I don't know, man. It seems like there's been a lot of people leaving California and LA.
Yeah.
And Austin's huge. Nashville's huge. We were just talking to Lenny, man. Remember Lenny J?
Oh yeah.
He was on here recently and about bouncing back and forth between Vegas, man. A lot of stuff's happening in Vegas right now.
He's such a showman too. I can see him being a Vegas guy. Yeah. That makes sense.
So, yeah, man. But I mean, dude, Nashville, I mean, one thing about the difference between Austin and Nashville, there's a lot of great musicians in Austin, live music capital, blah, blah, blah. I mean, everybody's suffering right now with the pandemic. Yeah. And I think it's just getting harder and harder maybe to be an original rock band. I'm sure I know it's the same in Nashville. You got cover bands out the ass.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be in that way in LA, tribute bands. There's tribute bands. You know, that's the money makers, the cover bands. So the original scenes are usually pretty underground at best, right? But Nashville, unless
you're red dirt, Texas country.
Red dirt, Texas. Well, there you go. Yeah, the Texas country scene. That's a whole nother thing. But you guys, I mean, the business though. If you want to do music business, like Nashville just crushes Austin. You know, I mean, it's a business hub, right?
Well,
so
yeah, I mean, I never have done the Austin business thing, so I don't know. But I do know. I mean, one of the things they do have out here is a really huge Christian music market as well. You know, with you got your huge like ASCAP, CSAC, and BMI, and CSAC handles all like the big Christian artists. Like I actually got to play the Grand Ole Opry 3 times, man. I got to play with Jason Crabb, who's a fantastic like gospel singer, like beast of a singer. Got to play with him and a guy named Matthew West and a couple of those guys on some like Easter, you know, churchy type things that were really cool, like awesome players, awesome bands. But the Opry is, you know, that was one of my bucket list things, so I got to cross that off a couple times.
That's killer, man. Yeah, I didn't realize you had actually been touring as much.
Yeah,
that was kind of your main gig.
That's definitely how I tried to make. I mean, you know, man, I like to play, you know, just like anybody. I love doing the studio thing, the brain puzzle figure out. Like I should honestly, man, you should, if you get on hitgaragerecords.com, get on my website and listen to some of the sounds. You should listen to the last metal thing I got to mix.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I haven't got to mix metal in so many years. It's always like pop country and stuff, but this song, it's crazy, dude. It'll blow your mind. It's one of the heaviest things I've ever mixed, and it's fantastic. But
now, is this someone from Nashville, or these people just sending you mixes from across? Around the world.
It was just a remix project, but nothing.
Cool.
All good, but yeah, playing is. I think playing. I don't know. My mind and heart are equally divided in playing and mixing. So, but I got in with a label out here called SSM, which is a lot of Nashville. It's. Oh God, I don't want to be mean or say anything negative about the people that give me money, but a lot of labels out here, not SSM because they're perfect, but a lot of labels out here are kind of like playing the whiskey, you know, it's like pay to play it if you don't do this and that. Yeah. So there's a lot of labels founded by some artists that maybe had pretty big hits. Like for instance, I can talk smack about this all day. There's a label called Average Joe's out here. They love to scout and get new talent. Average Joe's is owned by Colt Ford, if y'all know who that is. He's a white redneck rapper, country rapper. Very unique niche genre, right? White rapper, country. His band, though, is freaking insane. Like, they're so good.
Of course. The bands are always amazing.
Everyone on this label that pays in to go on radio tours. There's something out here called the music row charts, right? So you'll pay all this money to go on a radio tour, and they'll show your song as, I'm Kelly Blonde Hair that just moved to town, and I have my single, it's above Dierks Bentley's new single on the music row charts. They don't report. Like when you go on radio tours, there's what they call like primaries and secondaries and tertiaries as far as their reporting. And like Texas has a huge primary in Dallas. So if you're going on radio tours in Texas, usually that's a pretty big deal. When you're going to Lafayette, Tennessee, where there's like 200 people and you're on a radio tour, you're not reporting your spins, and all that stuff. So this music row chart is kind of BS, but they take their money and that money subsidizes Colt Ford's tour bus fund or whatever. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
A lot of labels do that. And so I happened to play with the band. They were called Branch and Dean, which they're great, but they were very suspiciously sounds a lot like Brooks and Dunn. It's weird. But I toured with these guys for a few years, man, and Dean runs the label. He owns, and now they have another lady who actually, I think, broke Billy Ray Cyrus, like runs their label, and they're doing better. But now Branch and Dean don't really do much anymore, but they just get a lot of artists on their roster. And so he hired me to band lead for pretty much all of them or go on radio tours with any of them. And so for like the last 4 or 5 years, if I wasn't out with somebody, I was out with one of these girls or guys with an acoustic, like hitting all these radio stations at every hour of the morning and like blasting through their new single and, stuff like that, which is, it's kind of fun. Like it can be cool and they pay you well, which is good, but creatively it's maybe not ideal.
Yeah, well, that's cool though, right? Because then you get to have your creative side of a musician in the studio and doing those things and
100%.
mixing, and if you're producing something, right? Like,
yeah,
because when you're going out on the road with those very specific polished acts that are like, it's expected to be a certain way, right? And a certain kind of thing. So you're going to play that role. Like that's what you do. It's not about like, hey, look at me being Mark Thomas, the individual guitar player, right?
I'm the help. It's fine.
Yeah, it's a paycheck. Yeah. And I imagine you get to play for some good sizable crowds, and that's all.
Sometimes,
cool.
Yeah.
What are your I'm actually curious about studio gear, but also let's talk about your live rig. What are you
okay?
What do you tend to take
I'm
out
so
on the road?
ready for this.
Yeah, let's do it.
So please don't poop on me. I love pushing air like every guitar player in the world. I love it. I think it's the greatest thing in the world, but
Kemper.
literally,
Use a Kemper.
No, baby. I'm fractal all the way.
Fractal. So
fractal,
what is fractal
audio. In the studio, I actually have an Axe-FX 3, which is pretty amazing, but my fly rig and my tour rig is the Fractal FM3 with an FC6 foot switch, and I literally go I will be honest, like people eat with their eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know the term,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? People eat with their eyes. Every time we play a show, it's in our rider that the back line has like an AC30 or some kind of amp back there that usually is mic'd up with a mic cord literally going nowhere, and usually power lights aren't even on.
Yeah.
And I've had people come up after shows and things, they're like, dude, I've never heard a Vox sound exactly like a half stack of Mesa Boogies. I'm like, it's funny because
that's what
I wasn't even plugged into it, know?
Yeah.
And, I run 2 lines stereo front of house, and that's it. And everything's in-ears now, so, or at least if I'm lucky in the bands that I'm playing with, we're mixing our ear mix on our phones with like M32 app. And like the band I was out with for the last couple of years, it was a husband-wife duo that was on The Voice called Two Way Crossing, and they're amazing. But obviously this last year I didn't play one show with them. Mm-hmm. We've got shows in Florida in April, like a week of shows. That'll be the first time I will have played with like a live band of real people in a long time. But these guys are so incredibly pro, man. It's like they fly with 2 X32 racks and the whole thing in a Sub Snake, and they roll in, and whoever's like, plug into Sub Snake, here we go, boom, 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 and we're rocking, dude. Everybody's on ears, everybody's got full tracks and click. I mean, it's simple, like nice. Like you can't mess the gig up. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah,
it's pretty fun. But
so you don't have to worry. But I mean, you got some old. You got some. What do you tour with? Just a couple of guitars, or do you have a lot of different?
So
different
if it's fly dates, I have my mono like a dual bag, and I can literally only take. I mean, unless I want to pay for more, A lot of times the new telly goes. And the funny story about that is I had literally just got it in the mail from Lance. He sent it to me and we went out on the road to North Dakota and we played a show in this little BFE town called Mott, North Dakota. And we show up and we're the headliner and the first band's like kind of getting down. We set our stuff up. We did the rock star thing and got our gear checked. Sounded fantastic. Went back to the hotel and napped hard like rock stars.
Yeah, totally.
We took those naps. And they're like, hey, be back about 8. And we're like, cool, man. So we show up and I kid you not, they're like putting little plastic wrap stuff over our instruments. They're like, hey, there's a little cloud, a little storm cell. You guys are with the, with the event. So we're just you guys can hang out in the beer garden, man, drink up, have fun. We're just going to cover everything with little tarps just in case, because there's an outdoor stage. We're like, all right, cool. About 15 minutes later, there's a cop running into us. He goes, you guys have to get in this van right now. We got to take you to tornado shelter.
Holy shit.
Tornado. Oh yeah. I got video of it, dude. He's like, tornadoes dropping on your heads and like right now we have to go. And my guitars, the drummer was the smart one. He put his cymbals away in cases. Every other person, we left our stuff under tiny plastic tarps. And it was the first time out with that new guitar.
No, yeah.
And bro, when we showed back up, there was a not a barn, but like a building next to the stage. And when they let us through to get our gear after the tornado hit, that building was gone, like actually gone. And my guitars, I have also this girl. This is my number one, my Sir.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite girl in the world. But usually it's the Sir and the Telly that go with me on these gigs. Mm-hmm. And both the Sir and my new Telly were sitting in in the muddy water. And there was a guy picking them up and spraying them off with a hose. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, trust me, it's already wet. You want to get the mud out of there.
Wow.
I was
Holy
like,
shit.
I was crying inside. And we then spent 2 hours driving, I think back to Bismarck or something like that, just to get to a hotel that had power. And our lead singer's a tech nerd. Like that's what he does as a job. And he literally took apart my pedal board. At the time, it was the other fractal thing. It was called the Axe 8. He took mine apart, took my buddy's Helix apart, took all of the gear, like cleaned, dried, put it back together, checked it, teched it, and was up till like 8 or 9 in the morning. And we had a show that next day, opening up for David Nail. And like, except for the Nord, the girl singer has a Nord stage, whatever. And like, that's the only thing that died. It totally died in the rain. But I dried my guitars, without hair dryers and stuff. Like I sat and did the right thing and, dried them off with towels and like cold air, this and that. And they're fine now, but that was amazing. Heart-wrenching.
And nothing got cracked or
no, not in the guitars. The guitars were perfectly fine, man. Wow. I don't know how. I'm still baffled by it, and my pedal board rig was perfectly fine too. So
you must have done some good charity in a former life, man.
I hope so. I must have, because yeah.
If you had a Les Paul, that headstock would have cracked right the fuck off.
That's 100% right.
I shouldn't say bad things about Gibson, since Gibson was so nice. But my Les Paul has been, well, to be fair, one time it got run over by a van, and no guitar is going to survive that. But the other time it fell over in the case and cracked the headstock. I've retired this guitar. It still plays. I got a guy in Wimberley, actually. There's a dude in Wimberley who's a fucking genius with this shit. And my guitar got run over by a fucking van. And he fixed it.
And a guy in Wimberley fixed it.
Yes.
All right. That's good to know.
Tony Nobles. Yeah. If you're
ever, just made me kind of sad, because I have a gold top that I've never flown with it. And now I'm kind of going, maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah. I did a video recently where we played Gibsons, because the band is with Gibson, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, and so I used another guy's Les Paul, because I was like, no, my fucking Les Paul is not leaving my house anymore.
I get it, man.
Dude, especially when you've had guitars for a long time. Like that's the thing. When you're your babies. I mean, I had one of my Seagulls got stolen, and I've had a few things happen as guitars over the year, but when you have those ones that you've had for 20, 25 years, whatever, like that's just like, dude.
I mean, I don't want my baby to break her neck.
Yeah. That's amazing though, that you survived a tornado, and with your fucking guitars survived a tornado. That's
somehow. I still don't know how, man. Oh, that was awful.
Wow, dude. So
I will say the Fractal stuff's built better than the Line 6 Helix stuff. The singer literally lifted up my dude's Helix on the side and water just like poured out of it.
Wow.
Yeah, there's the Helix.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Fractal. So it's the same kind of deal. And then there's the Head Rush is another company. Have you used those?
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I've used the big three personally. And again, guitar players are going to crucify me that watch this. And I've used a Helix, I've used Kempers, and I've used Fractal stuff. And I personally think that Fractals and Kempers sound the best. But the Kemper, and the sound of the Kemper may be slightly better than the Fractal, but I don't think the feel is 100% there. Like on the Fractal, if you're playing on ears and you're not taking your ears out, you know what I mean? And you're still trying to rock out, like there's something about it when you let off, like it just feels like you're playing through a real tube amp, man. I don't know. I'm not, I'm not 100% biased.
What did you play back in the day before all this stuff? What
Marshalls. I had a JCM 900 4100 series that I had for years that I played. I still have my amp out here. If I need an amp, which is rare, right? I have this Rivera that I would kill for, man. It's a combo. It's called the 100 Duo 12. And it's basically the Vince Gill amp, man. His was a 50 watt, but it's the same thing. It's like it's weird to me. The dirt channel is really Marshall-y. And the clean channel somehow is really chimey, kind of AC30ish. Like it's kind of bizarre. It's a weird one, but I love it. It's one of my faves.
I played a Knucklehead for years, man. Yeah. I've still got a Knucklehead head that I love, man. Yeah, Rivera's great stuff.
Now, back in the day, I did play. I didn't have the money for the Randall Warhead, the dime actual head, but I did have. I think it was called the Randall Cyclone. Dude, it was 100 it was 300 watts.
Jesus.
But no. But it was solid state, right? So I know the math in there is sometimes different. It's basically about as loud as a triple rec, which is 150 tube watts, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's something like that. But it was they boasted 300 watt Randall Death Machine, and yeah. It worked.
Dude, is Randall even a thing anymore? Like
I don't
right?
I haven't heard about Randall's.
I feel like on the last damn show I went to, like there was like literally like I don't even know if Randall was there or it was like one head. No,
there's some dude in a corner named Randall that's like, hey,
yeah,
what's up, guys? It's me.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah, I don't think they are, man.
Do you ever do those anymore? The NAMM shows? I mean, I guess they have them in Nashville. It's like
they do, yeah. Summer NAMMs out here, and it's really cool, man. I actually the last one, I went in for a couple days. I don't have any business there, no, and I don't do demos or anything, but I'll get to go and hang out sometimes and see a lot of the old MI crew, which is cool. There have been a couple guys that roll through that are with various companies, and
who do you? Obviously, Sean and Dan, from Rostov Groove and everything. But who's some people you stay in touch with, man? I mean, shit, you were out there forever and working in MI, so you must know everybody,
Realistically, and this is going to sound really crappy, in the last couple of years, it's been hard for me to stay in touch with lots of people because the fatherhood duties it's a little wild. It's awesome, but it's a little wild. But I don't know if you remember a guy named Kenny Etchison. He was a student there, I think, when I got there, but he ended up teaching there for a long time. Monster funk and every genre, He honestly seems like an Austin kind of guy to me, man. Can play metal, rock, country, funk, whatever, blues, jazz, but very well-rounded dude. I've seen him a few times. The thing is, Nashville, I've met so many people, or not met, I know so many people from LA that are out here now.
Right.
So I don't almost have to keep up with people. A lot of people just moved out here.
Right.
So a lot of the old crew from the metal days, I don't know if you remember a band called Lifeline from back in the day of Hostile Groove and all that.
Yes.
Bass player Kevin Ogburn, big bald guy. He's out here, man, killing it.
Okay.
Playing with tons of guys and touring. There's a guy named Brian Allen who is a monster at MI, bass player, guitar player, but he tours with Robin Ford and some monster fusion guys now. And
wow,
it's cool. It's cool. There's a number of people out here that you remember our apartment?
Mm-hmm.
right? That Sycamore Terrace or whatever.
Yeah.
So a couple of the guys that lived in that thing are out here now too. There was a kid named Jason Cope that everyone out here calls Rowdy. They just call him Rowdy because he went on tour with not Chris Stapleton's, another guy like him. But then now he started his own thing. I don't know. It's cool, man. I run into people all the time. It's like, oh my God, you're one of the LA old school crew.
Right. And this is what you got going. Yeah. And everyone's got cool
But
shit
recently,
happening.
This is the good one for you. Crucifix Doll. You remember the albino guys, Casey Mismechi and Nick and those guys?
Mm-hmm.
Casey was in Korn. I don't know if you knew that. He was in Korn for a while.
I think
Casey just bought a house out here, and he's out here. I'm going to his house to help him build a pedal board tomorrow.
Is Casey the same guy? I think I knew that dude is Kale, or are these two different people? Kalen. That's what it is. Same guy.
So, yeah, one and the same, man.
So I guess that's pretty, like you said, he's building a house, but that's recent because wasn't he playing with Dan in Time in the Dragon?
Exactly. Yeah.
I had not heard
the other
them.
albino guy. Nick is his brother, and Nick used to manage Carissa back when we were doing Carissa's. We're still doing Carissa's band, but a different project now.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
But yeah, Casey's out here, man. We hang with him every once in a while, and as metal as he is, dude, he loves our daughter too. It's so funny. He turns to a little pile of goo every time she's around. For as hardcore as that guy is.
Yeah. Yeah. We had Welby on the show, and we were talking about
Welby had a kid.
Welby just had a kid, man.
Had a boy. That's crazy.
I don't think he was. Yeah, he wasn't born yet when we interviewed him, right?
Yeah, he was. It was close, right?
It was real close.
Yeah.
Orion.
It just had. Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So badass. It's so badass.
That's awesome.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, but I didn't know what I didn't talk to him in forever. Just like you. You know, I saw you guys. I remember last time it was when I first got with Tragan actually, and I went out to LA. It was the first NAMM show I played out there in 2008, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
nice.
Fucking so long ago. And I remember hanging out. I don't even know if you were still living. I don't think you were at Sycamore then. I think maybe Sean was living there with Leah at the time.
That's right. Yeah, it was weird, man. Like Dan, if you remember, Dan was married to a girl named Isabel.
Oh wow.
For a little while. They got divorced. They're still friends, I think. I don't know.
But I don't even know if I saw Dan back then. I feel like I met up with you somewhere for, a bite to eat or some shit. But I mean, that was, fucking 12, 13 years ago, whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure we did. That sounds about right.
And I did a photo shoot with Sean. Nice. Sean was just like, hey, you want to do some photos? Like he's always got like all his business on the brain, right?
That's it.
And I was like, but yeah, dude, got a great photo shoot from him back then. And
nice.
Yeah. So I feel like that's probably the last time I saw you. And
it's
crazy to think you've been in Nashville for 8 years, dude.
8 years. It's a long time.
It's awesome, man.
But we like it.
What part of the, you know what? I think I texted you when I was on tour a few years ago when we drove through.
I think you did.
Yeah, dude, I haven't been to Nashville since the summer.
Because you were asking me like places to eat and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can line it up. I wanted to run, man.
That's right. We just passed through. We didn't have any shows anywhere around there. No, I mean, I was like one of those, I think it was probably one of those like, I'm an hour away from Nashville. Oh, I should hit up Mark. It's like, no, dude, you'd like probably need to like let people know. Like,
well, no, I mean, normally, man, I try though. If I'm within like not too far, like I did have a friend who was in Memphis who's like, bro, you got to come meet me here in Memphis. And I was like, man, you don't understand. That's like a 4 hour drive.
That's a ways. Yeah.
That's a little ways, or 3.5, something like that. But I was like, you got to give me more notice. Like I will come to Memphis if I have a day's notice, man. You got to let me know. I hate Memphis.
What you hate Memphis?
I hate Memphis. It's so awful.
Why? I've been there. I actually dated a girl in
cracky.
Memphis.
That's all I'm going to say. It's just cracky.
Yeah.
Like if you go to Beale Street now, they charge like $5 to go onto Beale Street, which is a public street.
What?
The reason is it helps keep the crackheads off.
Off
of Beale Street, which is horrible.
No way.
I had a funny,
kind of true.
First time I went to Memphis, and it just is what it is, in terms of race. But like, so the first time I went to Memphis, met up with this chick, and like, of course, actually we met up in Nashville, and so that was the last time I was in Nashville. It was 2009.
Man.
trying to put this all together. Yeah, something like that. And then we did something down there, and then we drove to Memphis where she lived, and we went to, of course, I wanted to go Bill Street in the, Rock and Roll Soul Museum. Went to the Gibson factory, used to be there, so that was cool. And used to. Are they in Nashville now?
Yeah.
I feel like someone was just telling me.
The main one was in Nashville, but like the one that did all the arch tops and all of that stuff was in Memphis. And when they filed for bankruptcy, I guess they moved the whole thing to Nashville now.
Well, Gibson is absolutely fucking crushing it now, dude.
Now, thank God.
Yeah.
I was sad. Slash should have just saved him. He should have just bailed him out.
I mean, they are killing it. It's pretty amazing. And now they got Mesa Boogie under their,
I don't know about that though, man. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, it's pretty heavy hitting stuff. So
yeah.
Seems a little strange, but I guess safety in numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hopefully hopefully that turns out to be a good thing, but what do I care? I play fractals.
Yeah, exactly.
I play fake amps.
Yeah. People nowadays are like, an amp? What? Fuck that. But anyway, I was in Memphis, right? And so we go down to Beale Street, and it was like, I don't know what the event was, but it was just packed, and everybody was black, right? And I had this like Clutch shirt on and my fucking mohawk,
Clutch.
And I'm like, 6'2",
yes,
walking like I acted like I'm buff or something, but I'm a pretty big guy one way or another, right? And I'm walking around, and I'm just like a fish out of fucking water, like everyone's. Yeah. And this one guy was like, "Man, when'd you get in town?" I was just like, "Oh man, I've been here my whole life."
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I liked it, but it seems like everything, right? It's hard to tap in. I feel like Austin's the same way, to tap into whatever that nostalgia once was, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what Music Row's like, but
Music Row per se is literally all studios. The Beale Street of Nashville is just Lower Broadway.
Okay.
Where all the bars and
And it's basically like Austin 6th Street, like that used to be, except for instead of blues SRV wannabes, it's like country, right?
Yeah.
And cover bands, like tons of cover bands.
Everywhere you go, except one spot. There's like literally one. Well, I shouldn't say that now. I don't ever go down on a Broadway anymore, but there's a place called like Robert's Western World or something like that, where you'll actually see some like Western swing and like some pickers doing some just blow your mind kind of stuff. Like there's a dude that plays upright that like does the Stray Cats thing and walks up the side of his upright while he's slapping it and walks back down it and flips it. And, they put on a show, but it's definitely not top 40 country. I mean, I don't know if you're ever into like Bob Will, like Texas Playboys and all that stuff, like all the country jazz.
Old school, yeah.
Old school, like they do stuff like that, like double speed, just like burning it up. But it's cool.
Hey, did Dale Watson go up there? We were just talking about this, Vic. Was he in Nashville or Memphis? I feel like somehow this just came
Dale
up
Watson?
I heard about this.
I thought it was Red Volkart.
Red Volkart. Oh, Red Volkart, right?
Red Volkart's bad, dude.
He went. I think he moved to Tennessee or something. Somebody mentioned that, right?
Yeah, he did. I think he did move.
Wow.
I don't remember Dale Watson though.
Huh.
I thought he went somewhere.
That's maybe a big old like. What do you call overall, no t-shirt.
Red Volkart
ginger. Oh yeah,
dude. You know the thing about Red Volkart is whenever someone starts playing guitar, they're like, "Oh, I just can't. My hands are too big." I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah,
if you've ever seen Red Volkart, dude, he has the sausage fingers, and that guy it's just beautiful. Like his finesse. I mean, jazz, country. It's like that guy's an animal. So good. And he's hilarious too. Have you ever seen him live? He's fucking hilarious.
I've never actually seen him live, man.
He's so funny, man. Have you seen him, Vic?
Yeah. No, I remember you invited me out a while back and
Continental Club, I guess. It's a hay bale, maybe?
No, it wasn't Continental.
It's a little like cafe or something.
Güeros, maybe. Güeros.
Oh, wow. That was a long time ago. Yeah. Before they got busted for some kind of cocaine trafficking or some shit.
Yeah.
That's what always happens to bar. Yeah, it was a little restaurant bar, and that's right. I remember that now. But he always had this bit where he'll be like, because I guess he has some instructional videos and stuff, and he'll be like, play, and he's like, yeah, blah blah blah. We got some guitar porn. We got Asian guitar porn.
That's right.
That's nice.
That's right. I do remember
DVDs.
that. Yeah.
Man.
He was awesome to watch. But you're right. He had those big old freaking mitts.
Yeah.
And he was just killing it.
Man. Yeah, there's never an excuse. I mean, unless he has like some weird custom built, like huge fretboard guitars or something that nobody knows about. But
yeah, it looks like normal stuff. And you're just like, it's baffling. I don't know how it's crazy. But yeah, it's like playing with your big, like basically guys like 5 big toes on his fucking hand. Yeah. And he's somehow still playing this beautiful
bar
guitar.
chords beautifully.
Let's talk about studio gear, man. What's going on? I mean, before we went on here, you were telling us about just a souped up Mac that you got now with power, all the power you need, right?
All the power, the master of the universe. No, it's that's obviously the heart. I'm rocking an Avid control surface with some faders that move around, an Apollo X8P that I do love. I went down the Apollo bus, or I sipped that Kool-Aid long ago, but finally was able to get the guy with all the mastering quality converters and all of that, and it sounds amazing.
When you say Apollo, is that the UA thing we're talking about?
Yeah.
And so what's your ins out on that?
So basically the X8, so the X series was kind of their flagship thing that has, like, they changed up your A to D and D to A converters and the clock source and all of that. It's pretty beast, but it's 8 in, and depending on how you run your outs, I mean, if you were daisy chaining that to something else, you have light pipe and all sorts of other ways. I think you have 18 out on it, but at my studio, I'm here, I work out of another place called Sweetbriar. So if I track drums or anything like that, like, I know at my place, I never sought to, like, the gear investment alone is just stupid. You know what I mean? To track drums. Yeah. And I had the extreme pleasure of getting to work on with an artist that I'm kind of I don't know what you'd call me. Either way, a friend of a friend recommended me for this gig, and I went in and, was kind of teaching these guys Pro Tools at first, like teaching them all the shortcuts, and so they could record their demos at home. But this dude has a grip of money, and I end up getting to work with him at Blackbird in, like, the D studio, which is like the bad boy studio with, like, this 20-foot rock ceiling for the drum room with, like, an actual reverb tank where they move mics up and down in this. Like, it was dope, man. But I got to work in and out of Blackbird for a little while, and that was fun. So once you hear drums cut perfectly to the point that, like, you put them in a mix and you literally don't have to do anything, like almost nothing, almost no EQ or compression. I mean, literally almost nothing. They just sit and they're beautiful and perfect.
Yeah.
After that, I was like, yeah, there's no reason with my live room that has, like, drop ceiling acoustic tiles, which honestly is killer. Like, when I cut vocals, it's great in there, but not for drums, Yeah. So I pretty much only do overdub stuff at my studio, and I'm mostly a mix studio. And my very first question when I work with people is, hey, what's your budget? And, like, I'm actually producing a hard rock band called Upon the Revelation. And if you look these guys up today, they just dropped at 420. They dropped a single on, like, Spotify and whatever. And it was something that I did not work on, because I've been working with them for the better part of 6 months and talking about, okay, where are we going to do this? You guys want to cut an EP? This is the kind of budget you need. And everything they were sending me originally was like Periphery meets Parkway Drive meets I Prevail, stuff like that. Like, pretty heavy, right? Pretty technical. So we kind of came up with a game plan, and with all of these things, I had to have the hard conversation with them. It's like, guys, everything you sent me was recorded in $1 million studio. So what's your budget? Because if you want to put out a single, and the single is going to be, your flagship statement to the world about what kind of band you are, then, and legitimately, I called a buddy of mine who mixes stuff, like Jason Aldean, like, he does major stuff. And I asked him that question. I said, hey, band wants to get produced, blah, 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 blah. What would you charge them for a single? And he goes, what's the references? And I told him, he goes, oh man, $15,000 easy for a single. That's like big baller status. Like, that's, and I get it. $15,000 is hard to come up with for a single. That sounds ridiculous. You could spend $20,000 on an album and get it done just the same, and it'll sound great. But I posed it to him as, if you want to go platinum status, where everything is cushy and plush and you'll be treated like rock stars, then, you're spending $5,000 to go to Blackbird for a day to cut your drums and bass and blah, 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 blah. But your budget is like maybe $10,000. I was like, or on the low end, like $2,000 where we're still going into a really nice studio to cut drums, but it's way less money. We're getting all of that done, but I'm going to have to work 100 times harder to make your drums sound like they were cut in that room that was $5,000 a day, and so we had that conversation and we kind of went around the block with it, and they ended up going, okay, well, let's meet in the middle, maybe like a $3,000 budget to get like outside mastering and some other things. And let's, you're going to have to work for this thing, but it's going to be worth it. And everybody's names on it. We'll all be proud. And I'm proud of these guys. Don't get me wrong when I say this. They released this single today that the guitar player like recorded, mixed. They used Get Good Drums, which is the Periphery. It's Nolly's like drum thing, and it sounds good, but like, and I love these guys, and if they're listening, I'm not talking smack. It's a killer song, and they want to put this on the EP that supposedly that we're going to cut later this year with real drums and real everything. And at that point, I mean, I can genuinely say that it will sound like 100 times better than what they did, and not that they were doing anything wrong. They wanted to get a statement out. They want to get people to start listening, and it's cool. And I listened to it today and I was like, yeah, man, that sounds good. But it's cool when you can see your value, you know what I mean? When you look at a project, you can understand, like, and I'm not being shitty when I say, hey, I want you to pay me this much money, because I literally know exactly what I can do to make that same song sound huge and wide and big and heavy, and I feel like when people do it themselves, a lot of times you're just too close to it to be able to see those different angles or those different ideas. So I don't know.
No, yeah, you're right. I mean,
but I'm proud of them, and they're killer. I mean, they're a great band. Like they're super good. So I'm having a lot of fun with them. But the funny thing is, they're called Upon the Revelation, UTR. And I didn't know, I didn't actually know they were releasing this. And then they called me today. They're like, hey, dude, we're releasing this single today. And I was like, news to me. Cool. Haven't heard it. Didn't even work on it. That's great.
You know what, though? I think been there a million times. Continue. It's the constant struggle between money versus, what can I do myself? And then the money and the budget and this. And you're always trying to do. And so I've worked with various people, outsourced some things, gone into studios for some things, done some things at home, and everything is different and has its own value, right? And so if you have an endless budget and that's not an issue, well, shit, why would you not, right?
Exactly.
But when, so I think it's like you got to kind of choose your battles and decide when you're going to go all in and when you can kind of go, well, I can just it'll be good enough for whatever, right?
Right. I just don't, I mean, the only thing that's weird about it for me is if they end up, if we re-record, I was kind of like, well, you already put it out there. This is the first thing the world's going to hear.
Right. That's the hardest thing, is just being patient, I think, especially for new bands.
Yeah.
And
because really, it's like my wife would always say that the like you get a box of crayons and you want to paint the Sistine Chapel. Like, I get it. You want to be that good already, but like I told these guys, we worked on, I worked on, they were like so excited, man, about the single, whichever single that was. And I told them, guys, y'all are a new band. You need to gel. Then they found two guitar players, right? One of them was the lead singer. Now they've got a dedicated lead singer, and the two guitar players are kind of going to start doing like Alice in Chains, like backgrounds, which is going to be really cool when it gets there. But every time they've been like, actually, now that we've been writing, we got this single and it's going to be good. I'm like, guys, why don't we stop talking about it? Why don't y'all just keep writing? And once you have like 20 songs, now you're gelling as a band. Pick your best 10. Now you do an album or an EP or whatever. And that's exactly what's happening. We worked on, I think, 3 or 4 songs that they were going to be the single. And the next week it was like, dude, we wrote something new. It's way better than the last thing. Now it's going to be the new single. Okay, right. Cool. So scrap that. Oh, wait, no. Now we got this new song. Oh, it's badass. And I get it. I'm like, you guys are doing what you're supposed to do. You're a band. You got to gel. You got to come together, all your influences, and write. And that's what you're doing right now. And that's cool. But so I kind of stepped back for a hot minute just to kind of give them time to do that. And then they put out a single on their own. So, hey, there you go. Well,
I think, like you were saying, man, that it's almost nowadays with all the technology and the plugins and everything, and you can do so much in the box and you can mix. I mean, all these it can be argued about, just like the amps, right? In the simulators, and it's so good. And on the one hand, it's great because you have all that technology, but on the other hand, it's like anybody can kind of use it. And so there's a lot of guys that are probably making stuff that's like okay, but it's certainly not what it could be. But it's cheaper and blah blah blah. But it's like. You used to have to get tone. You had to get the tone to tape. That was it. Period.
That's
right.
It
wasn't to polish a turd. So when you talk about, especially drums, more than anything, having that room and having all those factors where you can just get and then you're not, because dude, drums are the worst. Editing and trying to
best.
Or the best, right? But it's all in the tracking.
Drums
are
make it or break it for me, man.
Right. I mean, it's all in the tracking. Like I feel like I can kind of pull up some stuff and put together it's not going to be like amazing, but I can mix something. But but mixing drums, like that's a whole nother animal in of itself. Like drums, I think are like this, and like everything else is this, at least in my experience, right?
I think, it's funny you say that because I'm 100% on board with it. And I got tagged in another, like a friend of mine tagged me because literally, if you go to the Hit Garage page and listen to that first track that's on my SoundCloud, that's the metal song.
Yeah.
You should hear these drums. They're insane. And I've gotten really good at doing drums. That's like kind of my thing. And it's really funny because they were asking producers, how do you like make drums pop? Like, how do you get good drums in your mix? And they said, hey, if you DM us, and they wanted an audio message, and I didn't read the fine print, but they're like, you can have a chance to be on our podcast. So my friend tagged me in it, and I kind of did a snarky like reply about, oh yeah, sure, I've got tips, but blah 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 or something. And then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, if you want a tip, I typed out this whole long thing to him, and I said, go with me. I was like, I'm not an asshole, but like, go with me on this. If you have great drums, a great drummer, great gear in a great room, that's it. That's literally all you need. Mm-hmm. But most people don't get to work on. Like I made the point of saying the first time you get a session that you have to mix from somebody with like a huge budget or like a major label, you're like literally blown away by how good those drums sound out of the bat. Like right when you first pull up a session and you solo your drums, you're like, oh my God, that sounds so good. Right. But I said, there's ways to work around that if your budget isn't that big, and there's things. But the one trick I gave him, and I said, and this is a tip, man, I was like, every mix I ever cared about in my life, that I was getting paid good money for, anything like that, I automate, because I learned this early on. I literally automate every track in the drums. I automate it all. I'm talking fader rides on the kick, on the snare. They're minor, but like automating your overheads and riding up your toms and stuff like that, like that stuff to me, that's what really breathes life into a drum track, and it's super key. And this guy, like when I put this answer, he's like, oh my God, that's a great answer. Will you be on our podcast? I was like, well, it'll be my first podcast. and I got on, and they asked me about that, and I kind of talked about it for a few minutes about drums, but I was like, to me, drums are the most important part of a band mix that has drums, period. That's it. And the relationship between the bass and the drums, obviously, like that, those are the biggest keys. Everything else to me is kind of secondary, even a lead vocal. Cause if you're not paying attention to that lead, if those drums are crappy,
right.
To me, maybe, I don't know.
You're right. Yeah.
Cause that's everything, man. That's your backbone. But it was really cool to kind of just wax about the whole, like, because these guys they could not believe it. It's like, I promise you, if you talk to any mix engineer that mixes like major pro stuff, they automate their drum. I guarantee you they're fader riding their drums. Guarantee it. And a bunch of people kind of got on after that and they're like, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Nobody talks about it. But yes, most people do it because your toms, there's always a tom hit that's too loud or too soft. I mean, at the very least, you're riding your tom fills to, whatever.
No, you're right.
I could go on, but
it's so well, and that's why you're either doing that or, a lot of guys just sound replace now, right? Or you mix in samples with that to try to get it consistent, because you're never very, it's very almost impossible to have a super consistent snare and kick, and that's what you want. You want that to just be the same every single time. Now, how much on the front end do you do?
Oh, that's a great
compression
question.
Wise and stuff, and EQ and compression on the front end.
I'm probably going to regret saying this. I'll die on this hill. I'll sink with the ship if I go down, but I'm a committal dude, man. I commit on the way in a lot more maybe than is smart. but it hasn't like bit me completely in the ass yet. I compress kick, like I get a kick sounding on the way in pretty much how I want it to sound on the record. So I mean, if I've got it like, for instance, like a distressor or an LA2A or something like that at my disposal, be it plug-in. Well, if I'm tracking live drums, usually it's real, but like, you know, I'll slam a kick pretty hard for something hard hitting like rock or even like country rock stuff. And I mean, I'll print it, you know what I mean? And it makes work, much less work on the back end for me, especially if I'm mixing it. But I mean, EQ settings, like I know how I want a kick to sound. So if I have a little extra, maybe a little extra top end, I can cut that later. But I mean, I'll get that almost like basketball kind of thunk and snap on the top end and compress the crap out of it. And I'll print it most times. Like, I probably shouldn't admit that. I don't know if that's
I mean, well, and I like super want to pick your brain. I mean, because you went to GIT and then you did some of the recording stuff, right? And
I ended up getting to I did the recording program for the 9-month post thing.
Right. And so, you know, I'm guessing you were doing some home recording and stuff before that, but that's when you really cultivated that and then started working more, going into the engineering world. Right. And so something for me, I had never really spent a lot of time with that. And I'll, you know, fuck around with stuff and don't really know what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, that sounds okay, I guess. And but like compressors can be tricky. I'm still like learning, and they're all different, right? They're like strange how they kind of so you got to know what the terminology is and this, that, but then like EQs, right? So if you're EQing a kick, and I guess a lot of guys will say, well, it's never the same, but there's got to be some basic parameters you kind of go to or have in mind. Like
for EQ,
what would you bring out in a kick, or what would you cut in a kick?
Well, like you said, there's a lot of different types of kick drums. And the weird part is if you ever listen to samples to replace kicks with, and you hear like a Slingerland or a Ludwig or whatever, you know, you get all these different, they all have this weird kind of different characteristic, but almost 100% of the time I'm boosting at least, I don't go super top end. Like some people probably like hit that 10K or something crazy. To me, that's a little high. But I'm boosting a little bit of 8, probably 8K, something up there in the top end with a bell, like just a curve, not a shelf. I'm popping a little bit of that snap, especially like if you're working on double kick, right? Where you got to hear that attack. I mean, you have to, you know, and you also got to remember, like kick is one of those things that's almost 100% of the time it's straight up the middle, and it's with your vocal, with your bass, sometimes other things, but typically bass, kick, and vocal, right? Yeah. And snare are up the middle every time. Right. So you got to think about that snare relationship, which 5K is a lot of your snap and attack. It's also 5K is also the intelligibility of a voice. So too much 5K can really lead to ear fatigue, like really bad. So you don't want a lot of that necessarily in your vocal, but a little of that in your snare is going to bring that out. But then again, okay, you've also got kick right up the middle. So to me, you got to carve that turkey a little differently. So you move up to 6 or 8K a little bit, maybe, to get that click of your snare, or I mean, of your kick. If it's a weird, big woofy kick, you're going to cut a little bit of mid, like 400 maybe. I mean, again, I'm spitballing because, a little bit different, but I mean, and a little bit of, this is the trick though. I always low cut a kick, probably around just 30, 40 hertz, like the really, really low subby stuff. Just scoop that out and then boost about 50 or 60.
Right. Okay.
So you're killing the really, really, because your sub, you know, you could have an air conditioner unit that you can't even hear that's rumbling, that's going to add maybe some 30 or 40 hertz, like some real low sub bass crap that if that's on all of your tracks because you're in a weird room, that shit adds up and it screws your whole bass and low end.
So do you scoop a lot of that on every track? Do you just
almost every
dump
track,
like
man.
20 to 30?
I mean, unless a lot of times, yeah, man, if I have the time, I'll filter out that really, really, really low end, especially on bass. I'll do the McDonald's scoop on a bass where you're cutting high end, you're like filtering out high, filtering out low, and then you peak it. You know what I mean? So if you're filtering to like 5K on a bass, then you bump it up at 5K. So you're not getting that real hissy high end. Right. Same thing. And you're cutting that low, but bumping it a little bit at the ass end of it.
Like
that's a killer way to make a bass kind of hit.
And you wouldn't go that low with a bass, like where if you're putting your kick around 60, would you go like more like 100 or 150 with your bass or something maybe?
So that is the age-old question, right? Who gets the sub bass? Is it kick or bass? And I guess it depends on the music, but a lot of times you're right. I would say I'd probably cut up to about 80 maybe or 100 on a bass. I mean, if it's a 5-string though, like think about doing like Meshuggah records, right? Where you've got bass, kick, and guitars are all fighting for that low end, man. What do you do, right? I assume, I've never worked on something with 8 strings, but I would assume that, well, I have tricks for bass. The one thing I learned about bass is you always, with like a 5-string, you always duplicate your bass, or I do. I duplicate my bass track, and I'll put like a C4, like a compressor, right, on that. And I will carve there's always one problem frequency in like a 5-string bass, and you can mix it and it sounds beautiful, but then they hit that one really low thing and it throws all your settings to whack. So when you find that one thing, you take your duplicate and you carve the living turkey crap out of that frequency, and you get it just to that one, put like a C4 compressor on it to keep it at bay. And then you completely carve just that out of your main track. Right. So say it's, I don't know, for instance, like 200, man, you just carve all of it out of your main bass track. And then opposite that you just let the 200 live, where you can tame the hell out of it, blend them together, and you've got a totally tamed, perfect bass.
So on your other one, you only have that frequency.
Yeah. Literally you're carving it all the way to 200.
So you can just compress that
everything
one
around both sides.
Yeah.
And then you're slapping it down. So every time it hits your multi-band C4, that's the one I use, is like slapping it so that anytime they're hitting that low note that hits at, say, 200, it's always knocking it down and keeping it really pretty. You blend that back in where you removed all of that 200 from your main.
Right.
It's not 200. I don't know where it is. It's one of them.
But no, it gets down in there. It can get pretty muddy, and so that anywhere from like maybe 2 to 8 even, right?
Yeah,
like
I mean, you never know, but you can see it on like I don't know, like a fab filter or something that shows you your, if you've got that on your bass, where you can, man, every time they hit that weird note, you see the spike in your frequency, you just take that one and go to town, carve it up.
So do you have
like Michael Myers?
When you're doing like mixing, are you using a lot of plugins and stuff? I mean, like you said, like more probably outboard gear in a tracking situation,
100%,
especially with drums. But like a lot of other stuff now in the box plugs. Do you have some particular stuff that you really use a lot? Your favorites?
I do, man. I mean, I do like the UAD stuff because they're powered or whatever. But I kind of I went down the Waves road a long time ago, and I still think, Waves was one of the few, like you could get the Mercury bundle like hacked, you know what I mean? And everybody had the Waves bundle, nobody paid for it. So people crap on it because they didn't pay 10 grand for the Mercury bundle. But like when you actually buy licenses for some of the Wave plugins that you use, I think Waves is still some of the best, but I'm a big Slate digital guy, man. I use Slate on everything, and
I finally went down that road and started getting some of that shit. Yeah, man. And getting,
I love it.
I've
been a Slate guy for a long time. I think I liked, I mean, when he did Slate drums, which is his first thing, he went to the most major studios in the world with the greatest drummers on the best kits and the best rooms. And he tracked everything to tape. And then bounced it down or whatever you do, rendered it off from tape to digital. And when they did Slate drums, like those are literally the best drum samples I'd ever heard in my life. And at that point I was like, these guys know what they're doing. And so I bought a couple plugins. Now I'm an everything bundle subscriber, and I use Slate on a lot of things, man. But to your question about tracking and mixing, a guy in town, you know Chris Lord Algie is, right? Everybody knows he's one of the major mixers. He has a brother named Tom, also, who is a mixer, and another guy out here named Joe somebody. He had an interview for like Sound on Sound, and he let the cat out of the bag. He said, this guy works on like major stuff, right? And he kind of he told people not only what but how to do it. He said, look, I've adopted this technique and I do it on every mix, man. But he goes, when you have outboard gear, if you ever worked in studios with outboard, you had to have recall sheets, right? Where if you had to recall that session, man, you had to hash mark all these little knobs and buttons on your million compressors, and that shit is tedious.
Yes.
And if you're working with a diva artist that straight up goes, yeah, I feel like da-da-da-da-da was a little wrong. I need you to remix that, or I need you to fix such and such. You have to pull that whole
console. Yeah.
A million patch points on your patch bay and like reset all your hardware. Like I can't even imagine like how time consuming. And again, those kind of guys have assistants that do all that, but that's like a whole day's worth of work. Right. So this Joe guy, Joe Carroll, I think was his name. He kind of said, I mix everything in the box now. He's like, I have the knowledge from using all this analog. And if you understand analog, you can understand digital. But he goes, but what makes digital sound like you recorded it analog is remembering what a tape machine and the signal flow. So and he straight up goes, this is what I do. Every session, the first plug-in across my entire mix or every track, right, is some form. He's like, if you're thinking about the signal flow, right, you're hitting the tape machine first in the channel path, then it's going back to monitor path. So he's like, so what I do is I put a tape saturation plug, light tape saturation, every channel, every single channel. And then the next thing is you do some kind of console saturation. Now he used like Phoenix, whatever. He used some really expensive stuff and there's a million of them, right? I use Massey, actually. I use Massey tape head on everything. And then I use the Slate virtual console collection, and I usually use either the SSL 4K or the API, sometimes the Neve, but you just give it a little drive and a little juice across every track, and then you do that opposite on the master bus, because it would be opposite going to the tape machine. So you do like your bus compression, if you do that, which I do, little bus compression, if you do minor EQ, and then you do like then you do your console and virtual, like the VCC thing actually has one that's for you, specifically for your mix bus. They have the channel plug and the mix plug. So then you put your mix bus console, hit it a little bit with the console saturation. And then the very last thing in your chain would be the tape emulation again on your master. So it's opposite. You do tape first, all your tracks, then console saturation, and then opposite that on your master bus. And it gives this warmth and a little bit of width and, just a little bit of, I don't know. I mean, it's like probably 3%, but it's a little bit of sauce. You know what I mean? It's a little like sound sauce, a little spicy hot sauce, little Texas Pete, right, or a little Cholula. Yeah. So,
man, you got to have those condiments, man. Yeah.
That's it. But I mean, I've adopted that technique, man. And I mean, again, you're asking gear. I do go out in stereo pairs from my Apollo to a dangerous audio summing mixer. So all that does is I group my stuff. I basically have a stereo out that's just for drums and bass. I do one for all vocals, lead and background. I do one for all instruments. And then my last pair is just effect sends, like reverbs, delays, all that. And so those go out in stereo pairs into my summing mixer. And then they go from that back into the Apollo with a digital cable. And then I record it from there. So it gets warmed up in some analog circuitry and then back in.
Oh, so that's the point of just sending out those buses. This is to give it that analog.
That's exactly right. It gets it a little, I mean, it's basically like hitting the master bus on a console. And it warms it up, sums it together, and then you put it back in your back in Pro Tools on a different input and re-record everything like in real time at that point.
Yeah. Awesome, man. It's always like you always feel like like if I'm fucking around with a mix or something, right? You always feel like you kind of know what you're doing until you talk to an engineer and you're like, oh God.
Yeah, but the number one best tool that you can have, and I know you've got them, is good ears.
Yeah, for sure. Like
you can hear when you do something that's screwed up. I feel like people with bad ears that try and mix, they're going to mix garbage. But like when I was still starting out with this, I didn't know any of this stuff, but I had good ears. And so I could mix a track and make it sound amazing, but it might take me 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I can do that in like 6 hours, but
right.
You know what I mean? But that's
what's your monitors?
I use Adam Audio A77Xs. So the sideways dual drivers, and I love them, man. They're great. I've had them for years.
Do you ever headphone mix or reference that way?
I definitely I don't know if this is old school. I just think it's smart. I check everything on earbuds, on on these guys. I like my biodynamics. I like these. I check them on earbuds and I check them in a car before I finalize anything.
Yeah, someone was just telling us about some plug now that emulates all these environments of listening.
I think Slate does it. It's like Probably. A virtual headphone, something or other. Same exact thing, man. It's weird. I've never tried it, but I'd give it a go.
The Apollo seems pretty popular. I know we've talked to a few folks.
Yeah.
And I know they just came out with a new Universal Audio Apollo Solo, I think. And it's one that you just plug into your computer. Doesn't require separate power, right? And so similar to the Focusrite that I have.
Thunderbolt?
Yeah, Thunderbolt.
It carries that power. Yeah, right on, man.
Yeah. But I was looking at a comparison, because I think they compared it to a Focusrite, which is what I have for voiceover kind of work. And
well, your voice sounds sexy, so whatever you got working.
Well, I'm actually using something different, totally different. But
Vic doesn't need a lot of see. I have to. This is what I post podcast. I have like 15 plugs on my voice.
This is why he's asking all these engineering questions.
Exactly. Yeah. How do I make myself sound manly, Mark? Whereas Vic just like naturally sounds great. He doesn't have to do. There's like no processing on Vic's voice and like 10 plugins on my voice.
Well, you see there, Skunk, what you got to do is...
The problem, I get too excited and then I get all high. I'm like Jay Leno, me, instead of just, welcome to the podcast, Mark Thomas. Did I mention that I'm a badass?
See, man, there you go. Right there. You just did it. That's awesome.
You forgot to tell me you put a squash down your pants.
Yeah. Is that a roll of quarters or...
That's my real cock, Vic. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
This has been the topic of the week.
Right.
I did a video with this band Invincible Czars where I showcased my gigantic penis. So for anyone interested in that, we're doing like a Van Halen tribute to some whacked out Van Halen arrangements. And
nice.
And I did dude, I couldn't believe I could pull off some jump kicks, man. I was doing the DLR stuff and so I did vocals on it. But so before we went and shot the video, I just was like, everyone was like, just dress whatever crazy, right? I was like, well, I wore this hat and I had these tight fitting pants and like a fucking ridiculous vest and a scarf. And then last minute before, I was like, I'm going to go full fucking Spinal Tap on this motherfucker. And I grabbed a piece of squash out of my refrigerator. So
I
was finally the man that I wanted to be.
Vegetable to emulate.
Well, nobody knows it's squash. Everybody thinks cucumber. Someone said banana. But no, it was squash.
Did you tape it to your leg or did it ride up or down?
That's the thing. I didn't even have to tape it. The pants were so fucking tight.
Wow.
That I can't even fit in half my pants anymore. And these are like an old vintage kind of old whatever pants. And I couldn't even button them. So I was like, that was the thing. I was going to go with it. And that was the joke of the video. My gut hanging out and shit. And this motherfucker, I just wedged it in my leg and it just...
Man.
Anyway, so there's that. God damn it. I was going to ask something serious. And I started talking about my Dirk Diggler cock. Oh, the Apollo stuff, man. Yeah, dude. Like, I really want to get one of those. I just, I was still running off a 003 until pretty recently. And then my Mac, everything just took a shit. And so I got a Mac Mini and I got this, the Focusrite Vic's talking about, which are great bang for your buck. But
look up the
Apollos,
Arrow. I think it's called the Apollo Arrow, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. That thing's killer, man. It's literally exactly what I've got. It's just like less inputs and
I think like every single fucking person I've talked to in like the last 6 months has said the same thing. They've all got those.
Yeah. The only thing you're going to notice, which is going to super piss you off, and I love you, UAD, whatever. Mm-hmm. But this makes me so mad. It's the only professional piece of gear I've ever bought in my life that did not include everything to hook it up. Like they're like, hey, you need a Thunderbolt 3 cable to hook this up to your new badass computer. Cable not included.
Right.
And then you go on and you're like, well, what kind of cable? There's different cable. What is it really any skin off your back to put a $10 cable in my box? Like, Anyway, that's everything I love about them. But
I ended up getting what I got because it was much cheaper, but it's amazing how many interfaces now don't have a fucking basic MIDI cable. I mean,
that's right.
Does the Apollo have? Well, I guess yours does if it's a bigger rack. Right?
Yeah, I have MIDI. If I have MIDI in and out, but now a lot of times, like I actually have
just through
a
USB
keyboard thing
or
that
something?
goes MIDI through USB.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't think that new Solo does, but I was really impressed with the comparison because it does a lot of the processing front end. So it takes a lot of the floor noise out. It does all sorts of cool stuff. So I've been looking at that, but man, they're expensive.
They are a little pricey,
but I hear they're worth it.
Was that probably a couple grand or what?
So I got that and the computer and all that stuff from the GC Pro guy out here who waved his magic wand over it and definitely gave me a deal. But yeah, I think this guy is like 26 or 28. I think I paid $2 for it.
Mm-hmm. What are some of your go-to mics, vocal stuff?
Ooh, that's a good one. My favorite vocal mic in the world after working with the dude at Blackbird is a 251 mic. I feel like it is the absolute essence for like female, like I feel like women have, not all of them, but a lot of country female singers have this thing that happens about 3K. It's around 3K, a little past, but it's this weird little thing in their voice that's an annoying frequency, and I always dip it out. But there are certain mics that their frequency response like dips that out magically. And the 251, I don't have. This is the warm audio version of the 251 mic, and it's comes in at like $800 instead of like $5,000.
Wow.
But man, Warm Audio is killing it in my book right now. I actually have a couple of their products that I love, man. They're realizing that a name is just a name, right? And that if you have good components and good build quality and all of that, they're literally killing people right now because they're just undercutting like any good piece of gear, all the Neve mic pre's. And that's, as a guitar player, for me, that was the most important thing. Buy one really nice, maybe stereo mic pre, like something really good, like a Neve, whatever, get something nice. And Warm Audio is like, oh, cool. We have a dual channel Neve 1073 mic pre or line pre, and it's like 1/10 of the price of a real Neve, and it sounds exactly the same. Oh, and that API that was $5,000, we sell it for $800. And man, I mean, for real, like, oh, you want a U87 Neumann? Cool. Instead of $4,000, we'll sell you one for $600. And their quality is amazing. The noise floor is non-existent. Like, this is a 251. It's a tube mic. And the ELAM 251, if you find a real one, they're like anywhere between $5,000 and $8,000. And when you use one for real, you're like, holy shit, these things sound amazing. But I got this guy, and I mean, I've used it on so many vocals and acoustic guitar. It's just butter. So that's it. But oddly enough, I was the guy that would rather take one mic, not one, but like, one type of mic, a dynamic, a tube, a ribbon, whatever, and learn how to use it in any situation than have like a stupid mic locker where you have too many choices like we do today with plugins, right?
Right.
How many compression plugins do you have? Oh, I have 800. Well, how many do you use? 2 on every session. 2.
Right.
2 of this, So it's that kind of mentality, man. I've got a Fathead 2 ribbon mic that I back before I used Fractal stuff that I would mic guitar cabs with. And I would always do that with an SM, like a 57, blend a ribbon and a 57. And that's rock and roll, man. That's a great cab sound. I told you about my vocal mics. I have a couple Sterling Audio mics that I've had for years that I love. One's a condenser and the other's a tube condenser. They're great. ST69, I think, and an ST55. I don't know, but I love the Sterling stuff, and they're very inexpensive. But like, Pete Thorne, who does all those gear demos, he demoed all these Sterling mics at one point. And I was like, dude, holy crap, if you can make them sound that good, like, come on. So I use a lot of that, but
seeing that a lot. I mean, because like, why spend $4,000? Who has that for starters, right? If you had it, great.
It's a name,
It's a name, yeah. But yeah, if the components are there and they're getting exactly the same, that's exactly it, response and circuitry, etc., then it's like, cool. It's like actually somewhat affordable.
Yeah, and if you had a minor budget to spend on some really crazy good gear, you could build a rack out of the Warm Audio stuff and have everything you need. I mean, they've emulated the like the MEQ5. Oh my gosh, what's the? I'm trying to think of the regular brand, but like, man, literally so many pieces of EQ and mic pre's and mics now and everything. Like they're killing it. So it's worth checking out.
The Warm Audio stuff, was that
Warm
what
Audio? Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
I haven't used a bad piece of their gear yet.
Yeah, those Newmans are highly
expensive,
rated. Yeah, highly expensive. And
now, but so the good thing about probably Austin too, but Nashville, like we have a SIR. Well, SIR doesn't do it, but there's places where you can rent. Blackbird does it. Like you can rent, And the cool thing is, if I have a project that I really need something specific for, like if like a hip hop guy, right, that wants to use the Sony, what is it, the 800, I forget what it is, $8,000, like the Beyonce and Jay-Z mic, like I got 2 of them because it was 16 grand. Mm-hmm. I think they sound like shit, but you can rent one like from Blackbird for a day for like $100 maybe. Mm-hmm. So I mean,
oh yeah,
if somebody really has a request like that, like, but some vocalists, I tell people all the time, like, learn what you're using. Like I recorded this girl with an actual C12 mic going into a real Tube Tech, which is my favorite compressor by far for vocals, especially a Tube Tech CL1A, not CL1B. It's like the hand-wired big blue tube compressor everybody has. And a API mic pre. She had like an $18,000 mic chain and the girl could barely sing. And I'm not going to say who this person was, but it doesn't matter. But the point is, I'm like, Carissa was in the studio vocal producing her with me. And I'm like, babe, she's on like an $18,000 mic chain. Yeah. And like somebody like you who can actually sing, like you kill on this. And we're like, pulling out knee cartilage trying to get a good take. And it's just, it's sad.
Well, that's the thing, right? It starts, if you're singing or you're playing guitar, it starts there.
Yeah.
And then everything is a chain from there. But if you can't do that first, like, if you sound like shit, then you're just going to sound like $18,000 worth of shit instead of
that's right, solid gold doo-doo, baby.
Yeah, and then you can just auto-tune the shit out of it, and they can sound like a fucking robot. But
you know what?
Do you do a lot of that, man?
I was about to say that's what I did for the first like 4 years I lived here. I was the guy that got all the crap jobs, and I mean they pay well, but I did all the grunt work, man. I auto-tuned so many turdy vocals, it's unreal.
Yeah, I mean, because
vocals,
so much stuff though, especially with the Nashville competition and that style in the pop country, like everything's perfect. It's just perfect, right?
It has to be, yeah.
It's what I mean. So it's like, and you can hear it. I mean, you hear it on commercial, big time commercial records. You really hear, pristineness of every vocal. Where you're like, that's not a natural vocal take.
Here's the worst one, or one of the worst ones, and I literally would have fired this person. I don't know who did this record. I should look up before I say this, but Carrie Underwood, who can sing, who can sing her ass off, and I think she's an amazing singer. Mm-hmm. If you listen to her song "Blown Away," when she does that, blown away, she hits that long note. You can hear the phasing of the Glee auto tune, just the flat line. I'm like, man, let that girl's voice live. Like she's good.
Right, yeah. So
like, why do you do that?
So weird. Well, let me ask you this: like, what do you use when you do that kind of stuff? What's your plug-in?
So if I'm working with somebody who's a really good singer, right, that we just need to nip and tuck and just tuck it in a little bit. If I'm not doing surgery, because I'm a Melodyne guy, right? But I think Melodyne is playing God. It really is. You can do some amazing plastic surgery, breast augmentation vocals that were just crap like 5 minutes before, but you can really, really play God. So I don't like doing that if I don't have to, because it is tedious. But I use, actually with UAD, they recently released a UAD Auto-Tune Real-Time Advanced. And I wasn't a fan of Auto-Tune for years because I feel like Auto-Tune's one of those, you can really, like, it changes the sonic character of the vocal. But now it doesn't. It's really, man, it's advanced. It's good. And that was like one of the only plugins I actually bought this last year. And when I tossed that on a track that, like, for instance, I'm working on my wife's record right now. We were supposed to release it last April of COVID year, and we were told not to do that. So we didn't. And so now we'll probably be releasing her EP in March or April of this year when everything starts to go back to normal. But, with her, I can throw Auto-Tune Real Time on her vocal, and it just dots the T, dots the I's, crosses the T's, and just pulls those little things, but it doesn't affect like blue notes where you intentionally maybe saying something a little flat for effect. It doesn't touch it. It's pretty smart.
Wow.
I can't believe I'm endorsing an auto-tune product.
That's how I felt about it forever, and I've become more of a Melodyne guy too. Where
100%,
like Melodyne, it lays it out, and then you can go in there and dissect it, and like I said,
right.
play God, right? But the auto-tune stuff always sounded like just horrifically obvious auto-tune, right? And
I agree with
that
you.
Stuff, yeah.
Now
so
again, this is in auto mode, right? So this isn't I used auto-tune in graph mode back in the day before Melodyne, but now this is just in auto mode where it's just tucking stuff in with not an entirely fast retune speed. So it's not robotic. It's very natural sounding. It's nice, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's Universal Audio, that they're the ones who originally did that program.
No. I mean, originally auto-tune was Antares, but I think Antares and UA made a deal. So they released the UA, the UA version of auto-tune real time or whatever. But I like it. It works.
Too bad it won't come with an interface like they won't send you a cable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But don't those have I've heard they have they come with shit, I thought too, right? Don't they?
They do. They come with so it's funny. It's all good stuff and I love using it. I haven't bought any plugins for it except for that auto-tune, but it's they're called the Legacy 1176s, and there's some really nice compressors. There's some they don't give you the Neve or the SSL channel or any of that. Those are a little pricey. You got to buy them, but I have all that on Slate, so I don't feel the need to.
Yeah, I got used to some SSL stuff, so I use those SSL channel strips.
Dude, I could back in the day, I would throw the Waves SSL channel across every channel and just mix like I was on a console, and that was it.
Yeah, that's pretty much
that's all you needed, man.
I use those SSL channels now, and I use the mix rack, the Slate mix rack for compression and some other stuff. Yeah. I
mean, if you can't get it with that, you gotta stop. You gotta stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So it's cool, man. I'm glad I finally, it's like anything, right? You work with what you have. And so I was just doing the Bomb Factory, the stock stuff that was in there. Pro Tools EQ.
Dude, Bomb Factory has some great stuff. It's kind of
cool for certain. That colors the sound big time, though. It's kind of cool for certain instances. But then I got this, finally was all right, fuck it, and got these plugins. Because guys like yourself, engineers really started saying, the diehard analog guys, a lot of them were finally going man, this shit now is so good. And like you're saying, and then there's tricks to where you can still kind of emulate the tape and you try to create the illusion of an analog world, right? And then you're summing out here and there and you're hitting some analog stuff. But I think so many guys now and like you said, man, I've done that recalling fucking boards and stuff.
It sucks.
Ridiculous. Just spending 2 fucking hours just to recall a fucking mix.
It's stupid.
It's insane. Yeah. So it kind of has really gotten to that point where it's that stuff is great to have for tracking, the outboard analog gear, I guess, if you want to do it, but it doesn't seem, and then computers are so fucking powerful now. It just definitely seems like you can do so much mixing in the box,
Well, with UA now, they have this stuff called their Unison technology. So you can put all these plugins on the front end and have a Neve mic pre going into an LA2A. And it sounds, I would venture to say 99% as good as if you were really on a Neve pre going into an LA2A or whatever, an 1176 and tracking through the Apollo with it. And it sounds so good. It's crazy. Like people poo-poo about but I would venture to say that if you took the greatest ears in the world of the best engineers and you put 3 or 4 tracks in front of them, said, out of these 3 tracks, which one was recorded with analog and which ones are digital, they're never going to get it. It's not, it's not discernible to me anymore. I don't think it's that good, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Time versus money versus all that. It's just what's the point, Unless you just want to do the nostalgia thing. And
which, hey, don't get me wrong, man. If I had $1 million and could have that cool gear, I'd probably use it every once in a while.
Right.
But I'd probably get tired of recalling those sessions after a while too.
Well, they make things now where you basically, trying to think of like the SSL. I forget the company or whatever, but like, where you sort of, they used to use those fucking floppy disks, those old hard floppy disks. Then you're recalling a whole, the computer's fucking gigantic, and it's like the size of a kitchen sink, and it's loud as all fuck. And then you're recalling on these goddamn little, floppy disk, and it's just crazy. Now I think a lot of that you can do through a computer program, and it's just, I don't know how that reacts with the board, but oh man.
I mean, they'll with the flying faders thing back in the whenever that was, like 80s or 90s. I mean, you can definitely recall your faders, but like you can't. I don't know.
Sit there and turn all those knobs.
Yeah,
I think what I think maybe it is now is that now I know what it is. It's you still got to go turn all the shit. It's just recall instead of looking at an old screen that looks like a fucking Atari graphics from way back. You're actually looking at like on your Mac.
Okay.
But I imagine you do still have to go do all the manual recalling, which is just 100%. Horrible. Yeah.
That's why you get an assistant. Hey man, you want to learn something? Come over for the day. I'll pay you $5 and some sushi and make my knobs look good.
Pretty much grunt work.
Hey man, we all had to do it, or at least I did.
That's cool though, glamorous. Man, just think about the guys back in, you came after the tape cutting days, and guys just have cut.
I got to work on tape.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. I actually got to stripe tape and sync it, and I was the last class that ever got to work on tape at that school though.
I remember going to MI and recording a horrific demo song with a guy that went to RIT at the time that a buddy of mine knew, and none of us knew what we were doing. And it was a terrible song. And it was like, I recorded the drums on my drum machine, and then we just like dumped these crap drum machine song in, and then like recorded the song. But yeah, and it was on ADAT still back then.
Oh yeah.
I mean, shit, that was 20 years ago. So,
VCR tapes. No.
And the little one of they had like what, three different studios in there. So whatever the smallest one was. And they had one, I think, with a Neve and one with an SSL, maybe.
That's right. Yeah. See, they've changed all that now, man. There's an API in Studio A. They got rid of that 4K SSL. It was a Neve VXS console and a SSL 4K. And the cool part about that console was they're actually like G series and E series channel strips, because they just had people replace them, and it was like kind of a crapshoot what worked. But
it's kind of cool. Like I know a guy here that I've worked with a lot, and he's got an SSL with it's the EEQs. He'd kill me if I got this wrong, but it's like a G plus computer in the EEQs, because I think a lot of those guys prefer the different series of EQs.
That was a fought over
color
thing.
Yeah. So it's one of those hybrid fucking hell. I think he got his board was sitting in Nashville for a long ass time.
Wow.
That was I think it was used to record Shania Twain stuff. And
nice, right on.
Yeah.
Shania.
Shania with old Mutt Lang, man.
That's it. The Mutt. Oh God.
The Mutt. Is he where does he live? Is he over in England, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
He's not a Nashville guy.
Yeah. Oh
shit,
my gosh.
Man. Dude, this has been awesome. Catching up and chat, man. I would love to next time. I was hoping to do like a little mini tour with the band. Same thing with 2020, right? We were going to come up to Nashville for the NAMM show, but hopefully, I don't know. I guess, do you know if it's already been canceled? Do you know anything if there's going to be a NAMM this summer?
So everything I heard is that NAMM is going to be virtual, but I think that's y'all's NAMM, right? Or not y'all's NAMM, LA NAMM.
Well, that's already done. Yeah. And that was the virtual thing.
I think they're holding out, man.
Not sure. Yeah.
I think they're holding out, but summer NAMM is, I want to say it's in July. So everything that they're saying
is, crapshoot. It's a crapshoot.
If 80% of the population has the vaccine, then life can go back to normal. Well, whatever. I don't know about all that.
I'm not gonna hold my breath for anything really this year. I know I have, like you said, you've got some stuff in April. I've got something in. I start having some shows like June, August, stuff that was supposed to be last summer. Everything's been pushed back a year. So best case scenario, everything gets wonderful, which I doubt will happen, but come up there and do NAMM or something and come to Nashville. I'd love to come check out your studio, man.
You got to.
And hang, dude, for sure.
You know who visited me the most recently though? You remember Greg Harrison? What? Oh, maybe Greg was after your time, dude. He was he was literally like the Dimebag Darrell kid, like the 8-string guitar. he's like Mr. Meshuggah, dude. Like, he's beast guitar player, man. And then he went over to, hey, I want to learn every gypsy jazz Django thing and do all of it. Like, he's a monster, but he taught at the school for many years. He was a student there, and then he taught there for a long time. But he was doing I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I think it was a show for Netflix called Guitar Hunters. And they were traveling all over and like finding guitars and talking to people. You know Brent Mason is, right? Come on. You don't know Brent Mason?
I don't know. That sounds really familiar, though.
Look him up. He's literally like the most number one probably recorded guitar player ever, but he played on every country record. He is the chicken pickinest, like grossest guy, right? But so Greg went and met up. He came to the studio. We did a whole shoot here and hung out and chatted and just kind of caught up and BS'd for a while and had a good time. And then right after that, he went over to Brent Mason, who is literally one of the greatest pickers ever. And Brent tried to get Greg, because Greg's long-haired, metal-looking guy, and he went in, oh, hey, you know, they go in and they shoot. You know, John Bollinger from Premier Guitar was like on the shoot with him and would go in and they'd talk and introduce. And so he and Brent start playing. And apparently on the show, Brent goes, oh, cool, man. Well, yeah, you can shred, right? You can play all this, but like he basically called him out and said, oh, well, how are you like on jazz standards? Which he didn't understand that Greg was about to eat his ass. And like Greg goes, oh, cool. What do you want to play? And Brent is a fine, fantastic player. But apparently Brent was like, oh, yeah, let's chop over this. And just started like playing some like super high tempo, like something fast, like. And Greg just like went so hard on him that he put his guitar down.
Wow. Damn, dude.
And I don't know if that will ever show up on the TV show, but Greg's like, bro, you should have seen it. Brent Mason was like, damn. Like,
oh man. Yeah. That's awesome.
Crazy.
Dude.
But yeah, man, Greg's a cat, man. But he was, he came over and they did a shoot here and we hung out for a little while, but I can't wait, man. I hope you get to come to town and I'll definitely make sure we'll get to meet up.
Hey, you're a hybrid picker, yeah or no?
I am, yeah, chicken picker.
Totally. You know, we had the same guitar teacher out at MI for a bit, Al
Bonham, yes.
That I learned so much shit from that guy, man. That guy was incredible.
Yes, he is.
I'm sure he can play anything, but I think of the country.
He was the country guy, man.
Walk and bass jazz stuff, some great country licks.
Yep.
All that kind of shit, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I got nails for the first few years I was here. I would get these two guys, put acrylics on them just to do all that chicken picking stuff.
Oh, wow. You actually do interesting.
Well, I got pooped on. People were like, why are you putting them sissy ass nails on? And I was like, well, that's what like Brent Mason does. But Brent Mason's also plays with a thumb pick too. He's like an exclusive thumb pick guy.
I've never done that. Have you?
Me neither. Yeah. I tried it like, cause he did it. I was trying to do that thing for like couple months and I think I put like 6 months into it and it just didn't really feel right. So, but he's weird, right? He'll thumb pick, but he doesn't use his first finger. He still uses his thumb. Sorry. What am I doing? I'm weird. He uses these two. So if you're finger picking, it's still these two in your pick.
So he's using a thumb pick and then he's still finger picking
with these two. Yeah. It's super weird, man. You should look up some Brent Mason stuff, dude. He'll blow your mind. He's like, awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Huh.
He's amazing.
No, I just pulled him up here. Yeah. There's all kinds of things. This is good for me to have a podcast where I get endlessly shamed about not knowing.
No,
I should have just lied and done the thing where I go, yeah, sure. And then like,
yeah, Brent Mason. Oh, he's great.
Oh, he's great. Great metal shredder. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Metal shredder guy. Love his sweet picking.
Oh man.
Tour with Yngwie.
Oh, Yngwie. Jeez.
Oh, dude, we just talked about. Do you remember Guy Laverick from England who was out at MI? I used to hang with that dude all the time. So, and I went over to England a couple of times around that time. But we just had him on, man. We're talking with him about.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy. Yeah, he's great, sweet picker, right? No,
just a beat. Yeah. Oh, great.
No,
that's all he does is sweet pick only, nothing else.
Wow.
And that's you can only play one style of guitar, right? You have to be a lead or a rhythm player. You have to pick.
That's right.
Choose.
And you have to have scallop frets and be that guy.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I love Vi, and you're a Vi guy. I remember hearing, I heard Ultrazone through you. And
yes. Frank, oh my God, what a good record.
Fucking Frank is on that album.
Oh man, you're bringing me back. That's
Windows to the
exactly
Soul.
Right.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Man,
I did like Steve Vai. I mean, I shouldn't say it like I don't anymore.
Like he's made it sound like he's dead. Jeez, dude.
No, it's horrible.
Zappa. I never got into the Zappa. I more recently got into Zappa, and Dweezil Zappa's probably one of my favorite guitar players. Yeah. Man, that guy is fucking phenomenal. But I remember there was a dude at my back who ended up working with Steve at his studio or something. I can't remember his name.
So it's funny that you say that, because that was my wife's ex-boyfriend. His name was Enrico. He engineered for Steve Vai.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Carissa told me a story one time when we were first dating. You remember the Grove?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were out at the Grove, which is, Vic, it's like this kind of outdoor. It's like where the common folk and the people from Beverly Hills can kind of commingle and they can laugh at us. It's kind of outdoor, and there's like some cool stores and stuff. But I remember walking by, and Steve Vai was sitting there with his wife, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm fanboying. I was like, that's Steve Vai. And she goes, I'm going to go say hi. And I was like, what do you mean you're going to go say hi? She's like, I had Easter dinner at his house with my ex-boyfriend. And she like walks up Steve Vai, hey, Steve. And he's like, oh my God, Carissa, how are you? And da-da-da. And I'm sitting there just like, what is happening? So anyway.
You proposed the next day?
Yeah. I was like, whatever.
So like, is Steve Vai going to be at our wedding?
Yeah. Could you get Steve to come? That'd be really great. Hey, you know what? I did actually get to work at his studio, not doing anything studio related, but
the mothership, is that
the mothership? Yeah. We had to like help him go through all of his guitar vault and like organize tape and stuff. I had a friend who kind of worked for him, but he pulled out the triple neck heart guitar from David Lee Roth's Skyscraper.
Oh, wow.
That supposedly is hanging on a wall at some Hard Rock somewhere. And he's like, that's a bunch of bullshit. That ain't the real guitar. This is the real guitar right here. And he pulled it out and like let us play on it for a second. It was cool.
Holy shit. Wow.
But let me tell you what, when Steve Vai hands you a guitar, you like strum a G chord. That's it.
Oh, yeah, dude. That would be like horribly intimidating.
Yeah, it's you don't try and play anything. You literally just go, oh yeah, oh bro, perfect intonation. Oh yeah, that's great. Here you go. Yeah, that's what I did. I felt like an asshat holding that guitar. I was like, yeah, whatever.
Even touching it, you're just like, I'm not worthy of this.
Yeah,
at all.
Pretty much.
Please take this out of my hands.
Yeah. So
I'm tainting this instrument right now.
You didn't want to play Freight Train by Nitro?
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, God.
Oh God,
Nitro. It never gets old.
Man.
Yeah,
good times.
I think you would have really impressed him with that. Yeah.
Oh my God, Skunk Manhattan.
Victor
Dr.
Ramos.
Manhattan. What?
I've just said Victor's name too.
Boom.
Just say all of our names.
I thought you said Taste the Rainbow, which I was like, that's a really weird thing to say.
Mark Thomas, Taste the Rainbow, everybody.
Taste the Rainbow.
Hit Garage Records. So hitgaragerecords.com, is that the website?
Correct, yeah. Hit me up.
Oh, yeah, Nashville, man. Roll through. If you're in Nashville, you probably actually get some affordable recording, right?
Correct. I got what you need. Check me out.
He's got what you need, not just in his pants.
All That's about right. The drums.
Believe it or not, it's just a squash or a roll of quarters.
And yeah, man. Anything else though? Your wife, Carissa, like what's that site? Where do people find that?
Well, she now for various reasons goes by Char Nicols, which is
Char Nicols.
like char,
not Charles,
like
Char. Yeah.
Char, like you're gonna burn somebody's face off with some char broiled. I don't know where I'm going with that. That was dumb.
Char Nicols. But yeah, man, her EP will be coming out. Hopefully, I think we're actually going to release a single. One of the guys that co-wrote a song now has a couple number ones under his belt. So we're going to start getting some digital content and like kind of promote that. But hopefully in March, I produced it, recorded it, played it, and yeah, had fun with it. Awesome, man. Yeah, please let me know. Love to hear it.
Yeah. Hopefully a lot of stuff this year in the pipeline. That's the hope.
Indeed. Great catching up with you, man.
Yes, sir. And I hope to see you soon in Nash, man. And Vic, you're welcome anytime. Come on up.
Sounds good.
I got a place to crash, come on.
Likewise, if you're down seeing the family in Wimberley sometime, man, give me a buzz, dude.
I will. We're when we get down there, it's like Christmas, every once in a while. And so we see them for like a few days and we don't get out much. But this COVID Christmas, we literally stayed inside the whole time. It kind of sucked. But next time I'm there, I will call you.
You actually went down there though, huh? Yeah,
Yeah, we flew in for Christmas. We were there for like 5 or 6 days, but it was literally like my folks just
locked down.
We stayed in and hung out. So
that's good. You're responsible. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Thanks for making time, man. It's a pleasure catching up and talking to you. No,
yes,
learned a little bit about how EQ my kick drums now. So Rock and roll.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
everybody. This is another one in the can episode. Who knows? With Skunk Manhattan, Victor Ramos. Mark Thomas has been our guest.
All right.
Take care of yourselves. Later.
All right, guys. Later.
Laters.
I'm gonna make it work.